Thanks for joining today. Welcome to SaaS Connect online. Today we have Raphael Assaraf from Aircall, who's going to be talking to you about how we can scale integrations from 10 to about 90 plus in about a year. And then just a few other housekeeping notes. Just as a reminder, if you have questions throughout the talk, go ahead and use the Q&A button or the Q&A panel to put that in there. And we have some breaks kind of in between some of the material that Raphael wants to present. Also, one other housekeeping thing, we've moved our conference into the Slack community year-round. So come join us at cloudsoftwareassociation.com/join. And for the paid members of Cloud Software Association, we'll be hosting a speakers lounge to talk with Raphael directly after the talk. All right, Raphael, go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having us. I'll talk about how we scaled our app ecosystem. Went from 1 to 60 integrations in a year and actually had to update to 90 plus today because it's still growing. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Aircall. So Aircall, we're the phone system for modern business, right? We fast-growing company. We have over 6,000 customers today, 380 employees globally, more than 1 million raised, and around 2x year-on-year growth. So we started around 2015 and have scaled a lot since. Ecosystem is a core part of our strategy. When we talk about our strategy at Aircall, we say that we want to build a 10x phone system, 10x better phone system that has voice as an integration built in and augmented conversation. And so what we'll really focus on today is how we've executed on that part of our strategy and continue to execute on voice as an integration. And so if we look at the growth of our ecosystem alongside the growth of our company, you can see there were really kind of like 3 phases to ignite the growth of our application ecosystem. First, we started by bootstrapping integrations. Then we had our first partners who started building stuff on top of us. And then around end of 2018, that's where we started noticing there was some traction, and we said, okay, can we launch an app marketplace, and can we scale from the more or less 10 integrations that we have to what 50, 60, 100 in a year, and that's the story I'm gonna share today. So first, how did we get started? One thing you have to understand is that we didn't get from 10 to 60 plus integrations, and the number doesn't really matter, but still those were really relevant partnerships for us in really just a year because there were some foundations before. We had a public API. That's the first thing. If you're wondering how to execute on your ecosystem strategy, that's the place where you want to start. And we built it initially for customers. Really, they wanted to do analytics, their own CRM integration, some workflow customization, and so we shipped that, but we didn't really have a plan for it. At that point, when we were reaching product market fit, we realized that people wanted their phone integrated, and so we bootstrapped our ecosystem by building our first integrations. That's what everyone does now. So we integrated to Salesforce, to Zendesk, to HubSpot, Slack, Zapier, and Pipedrive, and those are still some of the biggest strategic partners that we have today. So the work we did there was pretty important. And then something kind of magic happened. Right around 2017, some partners started leveraging our API to build custom integration, and we didn't really have a strategy around that. And we said, "Whoa, that's crazy! We can basically accelerate our roadmap. We don't have to build everything ourselves. Sometimes partners are incentivized to do it. How can we do more of this, and how can we build an ecosystem around it?" So a few lessons that we learned from that first stage is do it yourself. Start building your integrations, showcase the capabilities of your product and listen to customer requests. Then try to really focus on demand. What are people doing to hack your product? Try to identify new things that people are doing, automating, researching, because you never know what opportunities are out there. And you also found sometimes companies that have already integrated into you that you didn't know about if you have the scale that we had when we had 100 customers or so and 100 people in the team. And then API is kind of your UI for the ecosystem. In SaaS, developers will be users of your product, whether it is your customers or partners. And so when you build your features, really think about how can we open these features to the world in an API, because that's not always what companies do. Okay. And so once we noticed that we had a bit of traction on the ecosystem and that we wanted to accelerate, we had to set a strategy. But something that really helped us, I think, is that the way we structured our team. Basically, we had product and the ecosystem team, which I'm in charge of, that are responsible for sourcing and building applications. And then, actually, before, we had established really strong BD teams, so US partnerships and European partnerships, working with our existing partners to manage and grow revenue. One other key component that appeared a bit later, but really is a no-brainer if you want to grow your ecosystem, is product marketing to help launch applications, enable your partners, your customers, and your team, and research everything that's happening and inform all the teams above. Because as you scale, you'll get more and more people using your product in different ways, more and more partners, and you need to make sense of all that. And so really, when I look back, one thing that we did and we could have done even better is align product and business. What we did really well was figure out the revenue equation. Aircall is a phone system, and people want to use it integrated to their CRM and help desk. That means that we had a natural fit for driving revenue through integration partnerships in this category. So figure out the go-to-market first. Then the structure. Build really solid BD teams before you accelerate on your ecosystem. Make sure that you have something that's working on the partnership side, and that marketing and sales are aligned on how you drive revenue or opportunities for integration. And then once you have that, you can start focusing on the long-term vision, because integrations to me and our ecosystem, it's not just about revenue. It's about the mode that we're building on the market, how we become more defensible. And it's really both a product and a go-to-market strategy. So start with the revenue, start with your BD team structure, but then set the long-term vision and start executing on it. And so that's the second part, and that's where I started grinding, is scaling the ecosystem and really going from 10 to 90 partners. Any questions so far, Eric? We're good on the chat.
Yeah, we actually do have an incoming question. So from Jason, would be helpful to know how you built the marketplace environment. Meaning, did you use something like a Workato or any other kind of tools to set this up?
Sure. I'll touch a bit on that in the next section, which is about the marketplace. But as of today, our marketplace is a CMS we use a CMS on our side to do it. We want to integrate with the product. Ultimately, although I'll get into it right away because there's an element about that. We started saying, okay, we'll get partners to build with us. How are we going to do that? And so we first set the vision. This is a kind of a screenshot from the product sales strategy back in 2018. And we were saying, okay, we have 30 complex integrations developed by Aircall, 2 integrations developed by partners. How can we reverse the trend and go from that to a bit more integrations that we build ourselves and most developed by partners? And that's really where we are today. So it's always cool to see that we've set a vision, we've executed on it. The first thing we did was just, recruiting our first partners, and there it's almost like sales. We mapped thousands of companies. That's the first thing I did when I joined. You look at the categories that can integrate with your system. If you have a good sense of your product, you know more or less what's possible or what you can imagine. And then from there, you work backwards and you look at the companies that you want to be partnered with. The large ones that you might have to build into or that you want to do a specific partnership with, and the ones that are more of your size or up and coming that you think would invest resources in building something with you. And then you get a priority list going. So that depends on you, but there's a few categories is the go-to-market. So like, how do we align in terms of ICP? Is there a revenue opportunity? Is this partner, willing to go to market with other partners? Do they have the structure in place internally? Is there a partnership opportunity? Are they open to that? Or maybe the competition is already there and they don't want to work with you. And then there's a product element. Really understand what can be built in your API. Like if we go back there, some of the categories we identified, maybe actually it couldn't work with our current APIs. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to go and hustle too much in categories that can't really exist, unless you want to inform the product roadmap and you have that kind of relationship with your product team. So that's what we did. Really grinded, because we had a few inbound partners coming in and saying they want to build something, but mostly we went out and we say, hey, do you want to partner? And to do that, we tried to create a replicable use case. So you've seen that some of our first partners were gorgeous customer, no CRM, so CRM and help desk companies. And so we built guides, best practices, and partner stories. And so we showcased the success both from product and business that we had with these partners, and we tried to explain to others why they should do the same, and thinking that we are going to be the top phone system in the market. We create more stickiness for you guys if you build that integration, and it happened. We developed a bunch of partnerships that way. And to answer the question on the chat, make sure that you make your public API great for partners. And one key thing there is moving to the OAuth framework, which is kind of a standard in the market. We also added the capability to have integration showcased into the dashboard of our customers. So we have a marketplace that's a marketing tool, but then we have the capability to add any partner application to our customers' dashboard as well. And that's something we had to build on the product side. Then go from feature to framework. That means that it identifies what you can do with your product that is going to give a great developer experience. Slack is great at that. And when you define that, showcase it to the world by building an integration. We did that with Shopify. So Aircall is a phone, and when e-commerce companies want to enter the phone, they want to know about their customers. So we bring data from Shopify, and we let you quickly access, the recent orders they purchased on your site. So really think about your product in terms of, building blocks. And thanks to that, we hit some milestones. So we launched the marketplace a year after with over 60 apps. We got the first business that was built on top of Aircall, PostCold. This is really a huge success. I mean, customers wanted to send surveys after a call, and they just did that really, really well. And they're constantly attracting customers from Aircall to their platform. And so if we recap our journey, we started integrating with key player, then attracted third-party partners, and have started seeing products built on top of us. And now we are learning how to scale that. And that led to the replicable growth you can see here. So, you can really see the traction being ignited by both the outbound efforts and the structure we've set to continue attracting new partners. And so if we recap in terms of lessons, do things that don't scale. Don't be scared to, go out there and just dedicate time to recruiting partners at first. And if you can build some of those, because partners are excited, but they don't have the bandwidth, align with your product team to do that. Think of your API as a Lego box. So bundle things that work into use cases, showcase them in your API, and then be bold. We've got many companies that we didn't think would integrate with us that just found our product cool, wanted to add telephony capabilities to their product. And because we went out on the market and through, associations like SaaS Connect, through events, through just reaching out cold to people, we were able to create great partnerships with companies like Typeform, JobAdder, that we wouldn't have thought could build something with us. Any questions on that part?
So there's a couple of questions, Raphael, that have come in. One from Chris Seller, I think on my team. What merchant client-based product hacks were most surprising for your team, and how did they drive the future of your product features?
Yes. Survey that I showed, so the PostCold one was really interesting. I'll explain. We're a phone, so we get mostly phone numbers, when you call someone. And so surveys are mostly sent over email, and we don't have an SMS capability. So product team tells us integrating with survey apps, not really possible today. And then we see that some companies, they're actually gonna own the SMS piece and build that. And so that's something that we didn't think was possible on the product side that people did. Another one would be Typeform, which built a crazy flow where you can call back someone after a Typeform form is filled, and that was unique. They shared the video, and we showed it to everyone. Leadership teams, the board. It was crazy.
So the next question, do you try to keep it to a few close partners in each SaaS category, or do you throw the net wide and take them all in? This was from Katrina.
Yeah, and personally, I don't believe in unless there's a specific category where you want to be exclusive for a strategic reason. I don't believe in that. I think the API should be open and that everyone should be able to join. And so we benchmark first on the product, how good the integration is. We have some standards for our marketplace, but then once you get a few people integrating with you from the same category, you also see how naturally the relationship evolves, how deals are coming in back and forth from you to them and from them to you. And I really believe in letting the market decide there.
Great. Um, was there a few more things that you wanted to cover, Raphael? We have a few more questions that just came in.
Yeah, let's wrap up with the last section, which is pretty short, and we'll do the Q&A.
Okay.
So just to open up, so this is kind of our journey. We'll deep dive on the questions, but now that we've scaled like this, like number of integration is interesting, but just having logos on your site is not really relevant. You want customers to adopt these integrations, their products, right? And so things I want to share is that we actually open sourced our Series C deck, and you can find that in it. One really key learning was understanding our spot in the stack. There are different categories of tools, and the purchasing process for people is not the same whatever is your category. So if you're a phone system, generally people will already have a CRM in place, and so naturally some categories will drive more business to you, but you'll drive more stickiness to them. And so what we're really trying to do with our ecosystem today is balance these categories and grow the revenue categories while attracting what we call experience applications that build on top of us. For instance, all the AI tools that analyze the voice that really can't operate if they don't integrate to Aircall because we own the voice data. And those apps that people connect to Aircall, they create retention for our customers. And so really the North Star for us is not the number of applications on our ecosystem, it's customer adoption. And that's something really important and that we're continuing to work towards. One other thing is caring about developers. So we really invested in our developer resources and website, and we're starting to build the DevRel function. So yeah, developer experience is key, and as we scale and we get more resources to invest in that, there's definitely an area where we want to be strategic. And the last one, which we love at Aircall, is continuing to experiment. So recently we launched our own app. That's not an integration. It's just something that shows you the weather of the person you're calling in Aircall. And that's the fun little experiment we did to showcase to the world that our ecosystem is not just about direct SaaS integration. If you want to build something that shows the weather in our phone, you can do it. And so we'll continue to experiment on those kind of little experiences. So lesson learned, developer experience, listen to your partners and help them. They're an audience, they're users of your API. And keep innovating. Don't be satisfied with the status quo. Anyway, thanks a lot, and yeah, open to all the questions.
Great, Raphael. That's very useful tips. And just a reminder that Sunir put it in the chat. If you missed a few things because of your internet or other things, after this, Sunir will post it up on the Cloud Software Association YouTube channel. So we have a few more questions that came in. One was, how did you initially build the API without knowing which integrations would be most and least effective?
Yeah, so I think our product is we have you have an internal API for your product, and so you can ask what are the features you're going to expose, then tweak a little bit, and the journey from not knowing what we will build to knowing that our customers want a Salesforce integration was quite fast at the time as well. So it was a iteration cycle, but at least if you have some kind of internal API, you can think of what could be exposed to the outside world. And then you probably have some idea of what integrations you want to build. It's not true that you don't know at all, but it's just about what do you prioritize.
Great. The next question is, did you use Cycler? Because I guess one of the participants said they Said you have an Aircall connector to Cycler.
I think most iPaaS like I have connectors. No, not that I know of. Maybe some of our integrations from partners are built with it, but we had our own stack. Then we worked with Trade.io as well on some of our integrations, and then mostly partners building out stuff with us. Yeah, Zapier as well, but that's less about us doing it. It's more was the first automation platform we connect to. Now we have Integromat also on the app marketplace.
Great. Was there any other questions from the audience? All right, Sunir actually had a question. What are the KPIs that you're tracking with respect to, I guess, either implementations or the program? And then how are you using those APIs and analytics for decision making?
Yeah, sure. KPIs. So for my team, since we're really focused on growing the marketplace, it is number of applications launched each quarter, so built on top of us each quarter, and adoption from customers. Basically, we want customers to have more and more integrations on average. So most of our customers use at least one integration. We want to get that, open new categories and get from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5. For the partnerships team, it's integration pipeline and referral, so more classic revenue KPIs. How does it inform our decisions? Good question. So maybe can you specify a little bit, Sunir?
You're gonna make me jump on. Hurry up. Well, one of the things I really loved about what you guys are doing at Aircall, it reminded me a lot of our strategy at FreshBooks, which was to have an open API, have everyone integrate with you, make it an expansive ecosystem, which is a strategy, in my opinion, to win, like quantity over quality. But then the questions always come up eventually when resource allocation comes around, is like, is this thing working? Is this making money? So that's one question. The negative question is like, defend yourself. But then the other thing is there are real values in doing it for a growth point of view. So how are you tracking it? I think a lot of people here have the experience of not knowing how to justify these kind of integration partnerships quantifiably. So I was wondering what you guys are doing.
Yeah. That's a very good question. At first, you have to understand that we have we structured the partnership team and product marketing around the philosophy that there are some integrations that will always go to market around, and then we know how to do it. We can replicate it with others, and so basically we have that muscle internally. So if there's a new partner coming in, maybe we have to prioritize some of the things we do or not, but we kind of equipped ourselves to sustain that. Second, it's often going to be the question of quality versus quantity. People always tell me that, but at the end of the day, it's really easy to put guidelines on how. Like, we test all the apps. I tested most of these 60 apps and before they joined the marketplace. And so you test the stuff. You ask them if they have a few customers interested, and SaaS companies, they know what they are doing. So at the end of the day, the quality is not that bad. If the quality is bad, often it's because your APIs, they're subpar on some part of your product, and you actually have to improve your own APIs. If a partner builds something and it's really built not the right way, and you can explain to them really with specs how they should improve it, and they don't want to do it, then it's not a very tough conversation. Sometimes they will say, yes, we just did it for a client, and it doesn't matter that we are on your marketplace or not, and then it's just fine. But most of the time, people build good stuff. I actually trust the SaaS and the developer community on that.
Actually, one last thing for me is like, one thing I experienced was quality was impossible to discern beforehand. I mean, obviously they're tiny companies and big companies, but I could never tell which company was going to like do well, just by looking at their logo. So, I mean, what's your experience? Like, going in, like, are you finding it like, this company's definitely going to do well for us, and they do, or you just have no idea until you put it into the market? Like, how's been your experience launching these things?
Yeah, we have some idea, but we get surprised. First, for categories like CRM, where we really scaled the use case, we have our own opinion internally of how we should build that, and so we inform our partners. Like, we basically tell our partners, here's how we built, HubSpot and Salesforce integration. If you want to do the same, go ahead. Everything's exposed. For the newer categories, we look at the product itself, at things that customers have been asking. Sometimes they know better because their customers have been asking, and then we try it out. And yeah, I think you see it when a partner like doesn't look at your API, isn't eager to chat with you about what's possible from a product perspective. They kind of ignore the documentation you send, and then you feel that it's mostly for like the I don't know, some kind of opportunity that they want to do it, but they don't want to invest the time and resources in thinking about the use case. So that's usually the flag for me. But once it's built, you go in the product, you test it out, and then you let customers decide. I think we'll add reviews on the marketplace, maybe not this year, but ultimately, I think that's a good way to crowdsource that in the long run, like when you're a little bit bigger.
All right, awesome. I'm going to drop off now.
We have one other question coming in from Elena. How much of your revenue stream grew with the growth of the ecosystem that you built out?
Yeah, integrations amount for around, like it fluctuates, but around 30%. Like we have integration as a key revenue like lead source, and so yeah. But the ecosystem, I mean, revenue is still like 80-20 between the very strategic partners we've built onto, or that have built with us, sometimes in specific categories. And the rest of the ecosystem is more about customer experience and adoption. It can drive revenue, but when you're partnering with companies that have 10, 20 employees or are just starting, obviously their sales cycle is short, like it's not as extensive as yours, and so a lot of revenue for them is maybe less revenue for you, but yeah, you get the answer.
And then I guess Bradley had a slight follow-up, which is with your 90 plus apps, does the 80-20 rule apply? So what I guess he's mentioning is 80 to 90% of your revenue comes from 10 to 20% of your partners.
Yes, and as I mentioned, some partners we don't even, when people are using Aircall already and they ask us, I want to transcribe my calls, I want to send a survey, and we refer customers to these apps. Like obviously, it's not bringing in revenue. However, we just recently seen that it really drives NDR up, and so that's quite interesting. Like if you have more apps, you actually like get better retention. It's hard to prove, but we are seeing it on some cohorts. So yeah. One thing though, on some categories that are really revenue drivers for us, we see that purely ecosystem built, so like built by third parties, they might be in terms of absolute revenue, it's less than some strategic apps that we've built. Yet in terms of growth and compounding, it's quite impressive. And so I'm curious to see what the future holds. Like if you extend the thing in 2 years, 3 years from now, it could be quite strategic.
Okay. Guess we're getting to the end here since I don't see any other open questions. I guess what we'll do now is we'll go to the speakers lounge. So for those of you who are paid member of the CSA, we'll be able to get to Raphael with the speakers lounge. For the rest of us, thanks very much for joining and hope to see you on the next SaaS Connect.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the chat.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.